Hi everyone, it's Amy. I'm really glad you're back. Last time we started talking about relapse prevention. I gave you a scenario with a high-risk situation for an alcoholic. I started with that kind of scenario because oftentimes it's easier to understand. But now I'm going to give you a scenario with a sexual assault. And then we'll go through the same steps we did last time of analyzing it. All right, Dean is on probation for sexually abusing two boys, ages 9 and 10. Part of his probation is to complete a treatment program for men who have committed sexual crimes. Dean has been in treatment for several months. During this time, he has not sexually acted out, but he is lonely and not interested in doing much. One day, Dean decides to visit a female acquaintance. When he gets to her house, he discovers that she has a new roommate, Joan. Joan now lives there with her children, a 5-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy. Being lonely, Dean accepts his friend's invitation to come in and have some coffee. Joan is talking about her new car and how great it drives. After a while, she turns to Dean and asks him if she would watch the kids for just a moment while they go for a test drive. Dean, trying to please her, says yes. Soon he is alone in the house with the two children. As he hears the women drive off, the children come to investigate him. He smiles at them and says hello. The next thing he knows, the kids are jumping on the couch next to him and asking him to read them a story. Dean picks up a book, puts his arms around the kids, and begins reading. Now, he's in that same position as Bob, the alcoholic, whose scenario we read yesterday, when Bob was sitting at the bar. It's easy now for him to take the next step and reoffend. There are several poor decisions that Dean made as he placed himself in a high-risk situation. Let's take a minute and go through each of those steps. How did he get himself into this situation? First, when he discovered that there were children in the house, he should have excused himself right away. He could have told his friend that he would come back later when she wasn't so busy. Second, when the women went outside, Dean should have followed them outside instead of staying inside with those children. Third, as the women began to leave Dean alone with the children, he should have said no and told his friend that he needed to go. And fourth, even once he was in that situation, alone with the children, let's say it went that far, and he didn't stop himself before that, he never should have allowed himself to be alone on the couch with the children. After they were in his care, he could have moved somewhere where he couldn't be in such close proximity to them. This is why I'm telling you, as I've said so many times before, things do not just happen. Sexual assault does not fall out of the sky. You're not out of control with the choices you make and the things you do. There are so many steps along the way where Dean could have walked away, made an excuse, turned things around, but he didn't. You can see how all of this is a result of the choices you make. You can stop yourself. You have so many chances, but you choose not to stop. And that's what's got to change. There are two main ideas when it comes to relapse prevention. First, by paying attention and being vigilant, you can anticipate these high-risk situations and avoid them. All of us know what is high risk for us, okay? If you're an alcoholic, it's going to a bar. If you're a sex offender, there are a million things that are high-risk situations for you. If you're gambling, if that's your problem, you shouldn't be in a casino. If you have a problem of overeating, going to the grocery store, that's a high-risk situation for you, just being there. It's a matter of making the right choices when you're there. All right? If you don't anticipate these things, then you're putting yourself in the high-risk situation. Like I said, all of us know what is high risk for us. But the second part of relapse prevention is having a plan, specifically an escape plan. All right? If you don't have these things, you're going to get yourself in trouble, or the risk will increase that you will get into trouble. Consider the case we read today about Dean. The minute he got to that house and there were children there, his risk increased. When he entered, the risk went higher. When he allowed himself to be alone, even higher. Yesterday we read about Bob, who was alcoholic. There was almost no risk talking to his friend on the street. The risks got higher and higher by the second. You can get yourself out of these situations any step of the way. There is no point where you are too far gone prior to committing another sexual assault. Up until the assault happens, you can pull yourself out of these situations. There is absolutely no excuse. Don't fool yourself either. If you're in a high-risk situation and you think you can handle it and you do nothing, you will see that you can't handle it. You are wrong. The more times you are in a high-risk situation, the harder it will get. This is why anticipation is vital, and having an escape plan out of these situations, you have to have both. Here are some high-risk situations for sex offenders. They are different for everybody, but going to the beach, going to the park, babysitting, going to a porn shop or watching porn, visiting friends who you know think about sex in an abusive way, going to playgrounds, going to bars or parties where drugs and alcohol will be present. Next time, we will talk more about relapse prevention. Specifically, we will be talking about your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors in these high-risk situations. Until then, I want to thank you so much for being here, because you are starting to make changes and you can do this. Okay? Please, comments, questions, I welcome them here and on Facebook and on Twitter. Again, you can communicate with me through the Facebook page. I am happy to answer any questions you have. All right? Until then, be well.